And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Margaret Pennard. I'm a history reader, historical fiction writer, historical fantasy writer, and a very eclectic reader, actually. So, behind me, you'll see some of the books I've written and some of the books I have yet to read. So, you're on Booktube, and today it is Halloween. But I don't dress up for Halloween because it's a lot of hullabaloo. Some people do a very good job dressing up, getting in the spirit. But there's a lot of scary things out in the world right now, so I don't think I need to add to any of it. I get particularly annoyed with the lawn decorations and house decorations for Halloween because it's a lot of disposable plastic that many people won't use again. And when I see skeletons hanging off things, I think of lynchings, which I don't think is a very good reminder. So we're here to do some book tags and just ignore the Halloween. You can celebrate Samhain. That's very different. That's not the commercialized Halloween bits. Just forget all the plastic stuff. Forget all the cobwebs that will kill sea creatures later. Just get down with your spiritual self. That's gonna be the way to come. Don't worry. I can see the future. So yeah, I'm a Halloween Grinch, and we're gonna do tags today in regular mufti, as the Brits say. I had to look that up a long time ago. It just means civilian dress as opposed to military dress. Julie is here. Hello. I'm with you 100%. They said I don't like dressing up in costumes. I actually do like costumes, but like historical costumes and reenacting rather than all the fancy face makeup, and like I have no talent for that. So being scared, me neither, or watching scary movies. Yeah, not a big fan. I can't really participate in any of that discussion. Gareth is here. I'm doing Gareth's original tag about the Muppets today, which is very exciting, and more people should do it. Ooh, I'm going to add JD to the Muppet tag. I think JD could do a good job on the Muppet tag. Jim is here. Hello, hello. Oh, forgot to dress up last night. It wasn't last night. It's this night. Last night is my sister's birthday, which, while special, is not a day for dressing up for most people. Greg is here. Hello. My new goal is to muck around in chat and make someone else ask Gareth if he likes Kate Bush. It worked yesterday. Love it. JD says, I'm a fan of it all, but not the disposable and wasteful aspect. Yeah. You can do tons of fun stuff decorating naturally. That's true. That's true. I just visited a friend who made moss cake, and she was explaining how, and I was like, that's very impressive. And she also makes creatures out of woodland forest litter. So like you can totally be creative, but yeah, that's not what I see around Portland. Jim says the cobwebs on my bookshelves are the ones I bought 2 years ago. So they're reused, or maybe they're just there all year round, which is basically the same as reuse, right? Oh, JD says, when's the last time I actually did a tag? Well, yeah. You are dipping your toe back in with your like regular features though. So maybe that means you can entertain a tag. I don't know. Oh, you mean because it was Halloween week with Dave. Gotcha. Yeah, I could have done. Missed your chance. Missed your chance. You'll have to make it a short from tonight. It'll still be fun. Okay, so we're starting with the Muppet tag. It is a tag day today, which means I get to do the little questionnaire that Gareth thought up about the Muppets. So basically, we use Muppet themed prompts to talk about books that we love, hate, however the prompt directs us to go. So I've got the Muppet tag, and let's see, June, July, August, September, October, only 4 months later. See, that's pretty much my record for how long it takes me to get to a tag. Okay, so I'm ready with that, and I'm just going to go, welcome again. If you have questions at any point, you can pop them in the chat. I tend to check in every once in a while and catch up on questions and comments. Subscribe if you're new and you have not seen me before but love the Muppets. Hey, why not? And yeah, this is what we're going to be doing first. So the first prompt is Kermit. Name a book with a great leader. And because I have some of these and don't have others, I'm going to be sharing the screen. So this is the first one. I queued it up. It's a book called A Secret and Unlawful Killing by Cora Harrison. And I read this. It should say on there. Doesn't say when I read it. Maybe it's out of the screen. But I'm going to be just sharing the screen and showing the books on Storygraph so that you have a cover to keep in mind. Because I think these are mostly positive prompts. And, you know, when you see the cover, it'll get you familiar. Although I think this one is out of print, so it might be hard. But Kermit Leader. A Secret and Unlawful Killing is a historical fiction mystery that is set in the time of Ireland pre-conquest, and they had a different system of laws, the Brehon laws, and they had judges who were women. And so this looks at a judge who's a woman. It's the second book in the series, and there's a death, murder, all this kind of stuff. Your typical mystery, but set in the west of Ireland with a lady judge. And I think it might be an independently published book, which is why it's hard to find now. I found it in a used bookstore, and I thought she was a great leader. She weighed decisions very carefully, had a great sense of what would be good for the community. Didn't always make the right decision, but didn't always have all the information. So I thought it was a great book about being a leader in a different way than some people might think, which Kermit would be good for too. Kermit's very humble. I see I have comments. So pleased. Let's see. Talking of tag type things, it would be great to see your favorite book covers, Margaret. Is that a new tag? Book covers? I don't think I've seen that. Yes, please, I'm doing the Muppet tag. And I may love the Muppets more than I love Kate Bush. Possibly. Elmo says, poop the like button. Be more Elmo. That's fun. Yeah. Yay to the leaders. By the way, JD is Team Gonzo. So Gareth, I don't know, make of that what you will. Nice choice. All right. Thank you. We're going to go to the second prompt. After Kermit, we have Fozzie Bear. Name a book that makes you laugh. So for this one, I'm going to have to go bring up a new book, which is... You guys see me doing this one. You may have heard me talk about this. It's another mystery. The Case of the Deadly Butter Chicken by Tarquin Hall. Now, I read the number 2 in the series, and then this was number 3. So it made me laugh because it's set in Delhi. It's got all sorts of characters, all levels of society. The detective Vish Puri is smart, but he's also a bit mocked by his creator. He's got a wife and a mother-in-law who are, a little bit henpecking. He's got, people jostling in the social system to try to get respect and to try to make a living. And it's just very active and fast-paced. And he's very even-tempered, usually. But I like how he interacts with people and his type of humor. I just found it very entertaining and a lovely new setting because I've never been to Delhi and find it very fascinating. So this is a good one for Fozzie Bear. Greg says, every time I watch someone do this tag, I add another question. Why are there so many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side? They're playing that song at the ICE protests these days. And they're all wearing the inflatable frog costumes and other inflatable costumes. And yeah, it's a good song. It's such a good song. Wait. You got me. I have to do this now. You guys know me. I am old school. Look what I have. I have a tape. The Muppet movie. There it is. The original glorious cassette. And I occasionally pull it out to listen to it. So that's why it's still in the collection. So great song. Great song. I was thinking of asking Gareth if he wants to like try and resurrect our AuthorTube karaoke, but it could be Booktube karaoke that Barrett and I had going because it was good. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. CDs and tapes. Yes. Jim says, why are there so many songs about rainbows? Is both whimsical and philosophical, right? It's asking why people keep returning to the same hopeful ideas. Yeah, that's a good point. Glorious, such a good soundtrack. That song hits me like a ton of bricks. You know, the song that comes to me more often than the rainbow song is Can't Live With Him, Can't Live Without Him, which is not Fozzie, but it is a character who comes later in the list. I think it's the last prompt. So we'll keep going here. We'll keep this moving along here. Okay. Prompt number 3 is animal. Name a book that is unpredictable. All right, what did I put down for this one? Oh, yes. Let me bring that up on the screen for your delectation. I read this one pretty recently. It only came out last month. But this is Bog Queen by Anna North. Now, it's a dual timeline, contemporary and no, a few hundred years off from unlawful killing. It's 1st century AD. It's a druidical society just as the Roman invasion is happening. And like the storyline then, and that intersects with the contemporary storyline, which is when a body is found in a bog, and they call her the Bog Queen. And it was unpredictable. So we have this 2 timelines, and then we also have the 3rd perspective that like cuts in every once in a while just to like give us a bit of mystery and smoke and mirrors. And it's the bog's perspective. The bog comes in and says, a bog doesn't have an opinion on whether humans have fallible judgment, but if a bog did have an opinion, it would say, and it's just like this funny narrative voice. It's really cute. And yeah, the way they intersect, I was trying to guess, and the ending was very satisfying. People might have been able to guess. I did not until the very last little bit, and then I was like, oh, and it came together really well. So very satisfying for the animal prompt. Highly recommend this new release. All right. The 4th prompt is name a character. No, Statler and Waldorf, which are the 2 old guys who laugh in the theater. Name a book that had to win you over. Let's see. Okay. So for this one, I have. See if it'll get it. On the first try. Nope, too many books about sirens. Gotta look them all up. It's the most recent one. It's the one with the really pretty cover. No, there we go. All right, so I make it a little bigger so people can see that beautiful cover. This is a book by Amelia Hart. This is, again, a dual timeline, but there are a pair of sisters in each timeline. One is a few hundred years ago, and it concerns sisters being transported from Ireland, and something that may resemble one of my own storylines, talking about a rebellion in Ireland and unfair imprisonment and, shipping people to Australia. So there's that. And then there's also people in the present timeline in Australia and their sisters, and there's like trouble and issues that they're struggling with. One of them is missing, and one of them is, not feeling great, trying to find her sister. And there's something that's happening to them. So you get to find out. And I guess I would say it had to win me over. I liked the narrator. The Irish accents were pretty good. The ship atmosphere was really good. Sometimes you can't balance like which both timelines, and so your readers end up liking one or the other. Yeah, I guess I was in the present timeline. I was just sort of side-eyeing the main twist, And then, like, it happened and it was a bit more complicated, and then there were, like, things within memories within things, and it was a little frustrating, but at the end, I did like the resolution, like, the brave last event. So, yeah, I hung in there and it was worth it. So there we go. Ah. Um, let's see. JD said, "Really interesting song choice that connects." I don't know. It's just the Muppets in the car that just comes to me. Do 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 do. I hope that something better comes along. It's fun. Gareth says, when it appeared in the new revival film in the early 2000s, I cried like a baby. The Rainbow Song. Yeah. Greg says, just adding to the comment chaos, I read a book with a character named Gareth. Gareth is a woman. Since all the Gareths I know are men, I was confused. I had a friend in college who wanted me to use Garrett as a nickname for Margaret because it's the end. And I thought, that's cool, but it didn't really catch on. She was the only one that did that. And Garrett is a man's name, so you never know. People just want to be different. Hi, Beth Ann. Oh my God, I love the cover of Bog Queen. I want to live in that cover. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see it. I didn't see the person on the cover until after reading it. I was like, oh, that's some clever design. So yeah, I really liked it. This one's good too. I like it. And hello. Yeah, as you should. Bog Queen sounds like a fun one. Very well done. Very well done. Jim says, I enjoyed Wayward by Amelia Hart. Yeah, I still need to read that. It's on my list. That one had 3 timelines. Yeah, and Sirens really had more than one because the 1700s girls were like remembering back when they were in Ireland, and they were remembering back when they saw their mom. So there's a lot of things you had to track. So, I mean, if you wanted to count it, there might have been 4. There were lots of flashbacks. It was quite confusing. Greg says the word for soft in Gaelic is bog. Really? I didn't know that. That makes sense. That makes sense. That author is a rebel, clearly. The author who had a Gareth in the story. Margaret, the one in the car is moving right along. Is it? The song I Hop, that something better comes along, is in the bar with Ralph. Oh, he's at the piano. Moving right along. Do 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 do. Okay, you're right. That's different. Why does the other one come to my mind so much then? Probably because it's like a frustration song. Hopeful frustration song. And they just melded together in my mind because that is from childhood. So it's had a lot of time to like just ooze together in there. Yeah, love both those songs. Okay, so for Wayward, 1619, World War II, and contemporary. Interesting. Okay, so not the flashbacks. Question number 5 is Ernie, famous Muppet. Name a character that is innocent or naive or both. Okay, so for this one, I had 2, and they're both indie author books that I've read. These are all books that I've read. I confine myself to fiction and books that I've read, just in case anyone is curious. And the first one is boom, boom, boom. We Are the Origin by C.M. Lockhart, who is an author friend here on YouTube. I don't know if we can get that. There we go. Nice big cover. So several times the main character in this book complains about the person who she is accompanying on her quest being naive. And it's like the albino girl, the white girl in the book. And she's been pampered. And so like I did think of that first. And then the other indie author book with an innocent or naive character would be this one. And I'm sure you guys have probably seen this. This is my friend Eloise Barr. This is Maiden of Artemis. And so the character who is the main character in this one is the innocent, naive one. And sometimes in a way that beggars belief. But it's ancient times and mythological times, and supernatural things happen. So I guess you could see a young woman as being very, very sheltered and not knowing how to do much. But she gets to have a very big growth arc that way. So yeah, that makes sense. Very innocent, very naive, and two great indie author books about adventure and coming of age and coming into your power. And they both have more books in the series, which are coming, right, Eloise? So very exciting. The next prompt is Gonzo the Great, JD's character. Name a book that defies simple genre definitions. For this one, okay, this is a funny one. I mean, this isn't like this is going to be a very peculiar recommendation. This is an audiobook, and of course, not finding it. So let's see. There we go. Okay. See, this is another pretty cover if you like bogs. I read this a little bit ago as an audiobook. It's a short one. It's called Herbs or Herbs over there, Pure and Simple. It's by British author Jekka McVicker, which is a lovely author name to say. I love it. Jekka McVicker. Just got so much satisfaction. So she is a plant person, and she's been a TV presenter for a long time. And for this, I think what they did was either make a regular radio show or a regular TV show over the years, over some 20 years. And then they took samples of several of these shows talking about herbs, where she visits places and people tell them about their special herbs, what they do, how they grow, what they can make with them. And so it was just like these little interview field trips and learning about herbs. And it was fun, but it was very weird because it was like nonfiction, which is not a genre, but it was also memoir-ish, sort of. We have a very little bit about Jekka McVicker's life. And then it was also meeting people and like learning about things. So it was a strange thing to have packaged as an audiobook, but I really enjoyed it. So defies genre. Why not? This is the only one that's not a fiction. I just realized I didn't confine myself. I couldn't. Let's see. The one with Ralph has great dog puns in it. I can't think of it because I only have those like regular 4 lines that go over and over again in my head. So yeah, I bet there's some great dog puns. As you're on this prompt, isn't Ernie adorable? Sure. I'm on Gonzo. So yeah, Ernie is adorable. Gonzo's a reporter, right? He's like the blue one with the camera in the movie. I remember that. Gareth says, I will check out Maiden of Artemis with my daughter in mind. It's pretty funny. There's a lot of like medieval humor. I know Artemis isn't a medieval character, but that's what it reminds me of. All right. We've got prompt number 7 is Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, who I think I only know as someone who is in the skits with Beaker, because Beaker was so much more popular. Because as a kid, you could definitely go and pretend to be Beaker, but I didn't know how to imitate Bunsen. So Bunsen Honeydew, name a book with a great concept. All right, I was gonna say Bog Queen with this one, but I already said that. So I'm going with the series that I just finished. About Boudica. So this is the first one. Boudica Dreaming the Eagle, and there's 4, and it's finished. And this is one that I picked up finally because of Hercules last year. But then I just ended up loving it. So I'm glad I picked it up. Great concept. So I really got into the Jack White Arthurian books, if anyone knows those. They're treating the King Arthur legend source material as a person who came up in power fighting in the time of Rome retreating. So Boudica, we have the time of Rome invading and like the conquering of Britain. And Jack White's was like when Rome was leaving and like the power structures were crumbling and times were upheaving, if you will. like now. So I just find that really interesting, this like upheaval in society, everything's being questioned, basically like, land before time level of world crushing events. And yeah, the concept. I love really getting into the setting details of the pre-Roman Britain times and like the culture and the practices and the bonds and the knowledge of the earth that these people had and the way that they depended on each other. Like there's a lot of the mystical stuff that is really investigated, and that was so good. So I loved the way that the author set this up in terms of power dynamics and trust relationships and betrayals and like evil infiltrating the tribal unit. I thought it was really good. Amanda Scott wrote these books during the second Gulf War, the war in Iraq in 2005, around that time. And so there's a lot she's commenting on concerning that invasion wise. But yeah, so you can interpret them differently depending on when you're reading them, because there's always something world upheaving going on in these exciting times. Yeah. I know you can't judge a book by its cover, but those covers are gorgeous. And I don't know if you were talking about the Boudica series earlier. I think you're talking about the Boudica series. So yeah, I really like them. Even they're mass market paperbacks, so they are hard to find the others in the series, but I finally found like the second one, and then I could read the whole tetralogy. Gareth says in the show, Beaker's role was to be the victim of Dr. Bunsen Honeydew's inventions. Sometimes they were amazing sketches. Oh, okay. Yeah. I just remembered Beaker a whole lot more than what Bunsen was doing, I suppose. But I like that they have puns in their names about what they're working on, which is fun. Prompt number 8, Dr. Teeth. And I know, I think I know the character by sight, but I never saw him in sketches. I think he's like a musician, like a jazz musician or something. The prompt is name a character that lights up the scene and makes you smile. Okay, so this is another good one that is a new release. And yeah, see, there we go. I listened to this. It's an audiobook. It's in the second one has come out, but the first one I think I haven't read the second, but I'm going to say the first is better because of the character that they focused on. Wooing the Witch Queen by Stephanie Burgess. And I would say it's a fantasy romance rather than a romantasy, given all the hype that romantasies get. Basically, it's a fantasy novel, and there's like a tension between the two main characters. There's a secret, and like they're actually enemies, and they have to be, hey, my cat was just sniffing up through a scarf that I have on the back of a chair, and I didn't want him to rip it because it'd be very easy for him to like tear it apart. Enemies, secret, forced proximity, my favorite trope. It's just delightful. Like, she is super intense, skillful, has some trauma she's working out, and he, Felix, my boy, is not very powerful and just relies on his wits, and so uses humor a lot. And like, I loved him. He was just a great wizarding adjacent hero. So this book was so good. It made me laugh. It made me like tear up. It was a really good romance. So yeah. Dr. Teeth. Maybe not what Gareth had in mind, but that's my take. Number 9, finally, we're to Ralph the dog. Ralph. Name a character that's laid back and copes with the chaos around them. Okay, and I knew exactly which one this was going to be too. Let's see. Yeah, that's Bean. All right, so this is a backlist book. I just saw this. Someone put it in a summer display of books because it had summer in the name. It's a Deanna Raybourn book, who is a historical romance and historical romance mystery author. And that is my jam. I love it a lot. She's a great writer. She is very funny. She is very witty. She is a Twitter queen, and unfortunately, there's no longer much call to be on Twitter, but she was very pithy and witty in her comments, and she put some of that in her fiction, which is lovely. But Spear of Summer Grass is not part of her normal series. It was a standalone. It's this woman who is in a little trouble in Paris in the interwar period in the 20s, and so goes off to spend some time. I'm gonna say in Kenya, but now I can't remember if that's correct. Yeah, it is Kenya. Okay. So she goes to the savannah in Africa when it's still a colony of Britain, and is supposed to like hunker down quietly so that she doesn't get picked out by the law for some libel suit or something. Anyway, so she's a very pampered young woman, and it's the 1920s, and so the attitude there is definitely going to be one of nothing phases you, right? You're blasé to the world. It's modernist. It's, yeah. So she really embodies the era by people and their crazy escapades, and then people who are just like, oh, you know, I've seen it all, like the world weariness of the 20s. So I it was a very good book. There's good mysteries. I didn't guess the ending. There was a little sad part. I mean, and there is like big game hunting. So Africa, savannah, that's part of the plot, but not very graphic. I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I just don't have tender feelings for elephants or tigers or whatever they were hunting. Let's see. Maybe this is a different reference to something that's laid back and copes with the chaos around them. I will say there is a lot of chaos in this movie or book. There's a lot of crazy things that go on, and the main character is very what's that Australian TV show? Not Miss Pym, that's the book I just read. But anyway, she becomes her own detective, and it's a better TV series than it is a book series. So she's got that sort of I'm equal to anything attitude, which is nice. All right, so then our final prompt, number 10, is The Muppets. Name a book with a great found family. So for this one, I'm going to take us back to another indie author. Tell me if you've heard this one. This is Tatiana Obi with Bones to the Wind, and that is another really cool cover. So this is, I think, a duology, and I haven't read the second book, but I did read this one earlier this year. It's a original pirate fantasy. So it's this world where there used to be dragons. There are dragons now, but they're a different kind, and people hunt them and are scared of them. And they live in this like enclosure that's full of old dragon bones. And there's a very tightly controlled elite, and then everyone else is poor and starving and scrabbling to survive. And yes, Bones to the Wind is this gal. And the found family is originally, I think, all people who hate each other. She's got a lot of stuff to work out, so she's not very friendly at the beginning. And you know, she gradually has to let people in, and they all work together and help each other and, you know, save the world. So I thought it was great. Very adventure-y, very what do I say? Just like positive about people being vulnerable. So I really appreciated that in this book. It's good. All right. And then finally, I'm going to tag my people. I did look up whether they did this one yet. So hopefully I will get some new names in there. These are people who I think would appreciate the Muppet theme. So the book Hermie, Albert the Conjugator, and Kat's Novel Adventures. In case you didn't know, Kat has a adult size cutout of Ant-Man behind her whenever she does her videos. So I thought Marvel, Muppets, they're right. She'll be down for this. So hopefully you guys enjoy being tagged on a Muppet themed book tag, and we'll spread this on for Gareth's original tag. Okay, so halfway through. All right. Bones to the Wind sounds good too. Yes. And she is not really on YouTube. CM Lockhart, We Are the Origin, is on Booktube, and she has Tatiana on her channel regularly. So if you want to check out like the author and what they say about books, like they often have streams together, which is fun. All right, so to pair the sort of crazy, wacky, silly energy of the Muppet tag, I thought I would come at you with something very serious, just a personal philosophy of reading. And this tag is from Lekden. It's an original tag a few months ago, whose channel is Rock in Samsara. And this is a pretty short one, but pretty serious. So there's 4 prompts, and I've got some sort of answers, very short crib notes answers. So we'll see how this hits everybody. I was tagged in the Muppet tag by Gareth in the original, and in this one I was tagged by Daniela at Uncommon Reader and Pat at Book Chat with Pat. So thank you guys both for including me in this one. Everyone's done philosophy, and I think the other one is perfection of reading. I had to weigh, do I do Muppets or Hitchhiker? I did Muppets first, and then I had to weigh philosophy and perfection, and I was like, I'm gonna do philosophy first. So this is what happens when you let the tags pile up. It's pretty fun. You get to pick and choose. The first prompt is share a book related to or exemplifying each prompt for you as well. I didn't do that part. I just did the answer the prompt. Okay, well, the book part will be on the fly. Number 1, what is your own personal philosophy of reading? How do you think about reading? What does reading mean to you? How does your reading life affect your non-reading life? Hold on. This calls for a delaying tactic. Okay, so my crib notes for the philosophy part of this is 3 words. So personal philosophy of reading. What's the point of reading? I read to learn, to connect, and to remember. So I'm a big curiouser and curiouser, wanting to know why things happen. If you tuned in on Wednesday, you know I was talking about politics and how that's why I want to know more about economics and politics, is because I want to know why things are happening, especially bad things, so that we can undo them and make it better. And books are a great way to do that. I don't do really well with a lot of information at once, which is what the media gives us. And so books, I feel, are much better pace and usually structure that I can absorb and understand. I read to connect. So both from the author and the people who put the book together, but also other people who have recommended the book to me, other people I read books with, like with Devin. I just did a buddy read with my friend, indie author Devin Gamble Clark, and we talked about an old politics book on Monday. So there's lots of way to connect through and with books, and to remember. And I think I remember when I read books in a society way. Like I'm remembering what's happened before in history. I'm remembering what's possible. I'm remembering what's worth saving. There's just a lot of useful things that are written down in fiction or nonfiction that remind me of the good things in life. And so I think reading helps me do all those things: learn, connect, and remember, which I think are all important to life. And a book related to personal philosophy of reading. Is there a book that does all that? I mean, the one that I'm thinking of is I Want a Better Catastrophe, which is the one that sort of launched me into being more activist about the climate crisis. I Want a Better Catastrophe is an activist sort of creed occur and the aftermath. So it's a person who's been a climate activist and who's been through the depression of being hopeless and then said, other people are still working on this. What do they know that I don't? And what is the appropriate level of alarm and the appropriate level of despair? And what are people doing anyway? And so he takes us through his overarching metaphor of it's going to be a very bumpy ride from now on out. And we can look at it like we're going down the rapids, and we can either go off a cliff or we can go through rapids and figure out, oh, if you put your kayak paddle against this rock and push, that will make it a little less bad. It'll less of a cliff, more of a rapid. And so he uses this metaphor to explain there are still things that we can do to make the changeover from civilization now to civilization as it needs to be for the earth, to make it not such a catastrophe. And so I think that helped me learn and connect and remember. And so that's a pretty good representation. Again, these are off the cuff, so I may go back and want to say different ones, but that's my answer for now. Oh, Greg is curious what I mean when I say original tag. So it means that they thought it up. They're not just passing it on. So Gareth came up with the Muppet prompts, and it's harder to do that and get the tag started than it is just to be tagged and pass it on. So that's what I mean when I say original tag. Yeah, Jim has answered it too. Okay, second prompt for philosophy. When did you first come to think of yourself as a reader? Okay, so what's funny about this is that I may have mentioned this before, I can't remember. My mom is currently writing up letters home that she wrote. She's typing them up for us because it documents a year in the life of a family with 4 kids doing a teacher exchange in Northampton. And so it's pretty funny. And I was 2.5 at this point. And so you get me. The last one I read was when our grandparents came to visit, and I was up on my grandpa's knee saying, "Read me another book, Grandpa, read me another book." So, I mean, there's very early evidence that if I was not reading, I was demanding to be read too. I don't remember. My answer before I was reading my mom's letters was, I think there's no defining moment, but when I try to think through grade school, when I would have started reading, I definitely considered myself a reader by 5th grade, because I remember having outside reading requirements, and I remember just like racking up the points and very easily being in the class, and reading my own books. Like there was a little library there, but it was much shorter, and easier reading levels. And so I was reading my own like Saddle Club and whatever I was into at the moment. So yeah. And 5th grade, for those of you in Britain, is 13, 12, 11, 10, about 10 years old. So yeah. And if I had to come up with a book that was about conceiving of myself as a reader, wait, there's a book I have that's 5-star that is related to this. What is it? Let me see if I can look it up since I'm doing this on the fly. Reader. It's not the library book, but it was a nonfiction. Ex Libris. Yeah, that's the one I gave 5 stars. So I don't know if anyone else has read this. Ex Libris, Confessions of a Common Reader by Anne Fadiman, 1998. Apparently I read that and really enjoyed it. I don't remember it much. But I'm thinking it was a 5-star book for me. Let's see, I read it 2015. Wow. So I'm thinking it was a 5-star book because it felt so relatable. It felt like those small moments that are private were being shared across. So I feel like that's something special about reading, especially nonfiction and memoir, is that when you see someone else revealing something that you're like, oh, I thought that too, or I felt that too. And it just creates that connection. In terms of the readers feeling connected and related, then yeah, that's definitely up there. I should probably reread it. I think I still have it. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. Gareth says, I enjoy creating them. Yes, he has a lot of original tags and doing other people's. Yes. Happy Halloween, Eloise. The indie author who I just talked about in the last tag is here. I don't know how old your daughter is, but it's an adult book, just FYI. Yeah, I think his kids are old enough, Eloise. I think it's all good. So that was the second prompt, halfway done. Third prompt is, what are some goals or hopes that you have for your reading life? Okay. How are you supposed to come up with a book for that? My notes on this, I want to understand the world and hold knowledge that helps. So sort of an ineffable goal, if you will, is to be a knowledge holder. And I find that really hard to marry with my image of myself. But I keep it as a goal because, while I don't feel like I know a lot of useful survival skills, I do want to be conscious of what I do know that will help future generations. So when I think about civilization as a whole and what we want to take forward, I think about sociology, maybe truths, and negotiation, cooperation, psychological truths. Those sorts of things from my experience and my reading would be good to pass on. So I guess I can see myself in that role. Not that I have been serving that role, because you need to have listeners to be passing on this knowledge. But I started thinking about this in terms of wanting to learn from previous generations and not really concentrating on that. And not really connecting. I mean, I guess at least not intentionally, I have been connecting with prior generations. There's people who are older than me here on Booktube, whether it's a Gen X or, two generations more like my parents' age. And I guess in that sense, I am like listening and absorbing. The herbalism course I did with someone who is a little bit older. Yeah, I just get the sense of wanting to honor previous generations' experience and counsel, and then knowing that I can be impatient and frustrated. So like always falling down on that. But it is still a goal. And in case I ever have listeners, in case I ever have people who are asking me about those things, I want to hold as much knowledge as I can, which is why I'm learning about plants, why I'm trying to learn about plants, even though there's plenty of younger people who know more than I do. Like, I think that's being useful. And I've been thinking about this framing of being useful as well recently. It's always been like a very core belief, like you have to be useful. And I've been interrogating that recently and just like trying to think about how I am useful to my community. So how that relates to goals for the reading life. Well, I have a fall curriculum. If you know that I jumped on that trend, which means that I just sort of designed a little focus areas, 3 sort of courses that I was going to try to get better on this semester, this fall and winter. And one of them is about plants. And so I've very slowly been picking stuff up, maybe 5-6 years, and, went on the herbalism course, went and volunteered on a farm for a summer. Like, there's very slow, very microdosing learning opportunities that present themselves, and I try to keep up so that I don't lose the progress. And I came across a TikTok that was Pacific Northwest plants 6 plants that you should know what they do. And I went through and I was like, I know all these. I can identify all these, which is great. I knew the formal names of most of them, and I knew all of the uses that they'd gone over. Some of them were pretty vague. So I was like, okay, see, I did make some progress. So that felt pretty good. But yeah, so reading life, part of it is plants and activism are on my reading list for the rest of the year, for those focused, intentional curricula type learning. Let's see. Eloise says, oh, good. You don't know how many people see the cover and think it's good for their teen. Yeah, she's 30. I'm an old git. Gareth is not old. Gareth is a silver fox. What are you talking about? Better than the alternative. Indeed. Being 6 feet under. Catpaw says, hello. Looks like I'm going to have to do replay. Yeah, we're in that weird 1 week between different clock settings. So I'm very much a Grinch too, for my own reasons. Yeah. There's too many scary things in the world. I think Halloween decorations are kind of a waste. So yeah, I'm a Halloween Grinch. And a book for my hopes for my reading life. Oh, that's a good one. Hopes for my reading life, learning about the world, holy knowledge. It's probably where these two goals intersect, of diversifying my reading shelf and learning about the world and cultures that are not the ones I'm used to, and being a knowledge holder. So I would say Indigenous reads, since Indigathon is coming up. So Kim at an Oasis of Books mentioned, or someone in her comment section did, that November is Native American Heritage Month, and we used to have a readathon called Indigathon, and then it sort of morphed into Skoden, and like it's sort of moved over to Instagram only, and it's become something sort of different. But I still just motion towards the fact that it's Native American History Month, and without having to formalize a readathon, I try to prioritize those books. So the hopes for my reading life question embodied in a book would be all the to be read books that are Indigenous reads, because I think that is a direction, that is a subsection of my books that is often about honoring people with knowledge, trying to pass it on to the next generation in a way that I think Western culture just shits all over often. So in terms of like an alternative way, I think that's my hopeful reading life as part of my general reading. So I don't have a title for that one, but I can show you one that I've been meaning to read for Climathon. That's an Indigenous read. Oh, wait. Well, there's two. So this is the one that I've had for a while. Fresh Banana Leaves. It's by Jessica Hernandez. It's Healing Indigenous Landscapes Through Indigenous Science. So it's kind of like Robin Wall Kimmerer trying to marry Western science and Indigenous science and see the value in both approaches, and respecting them both equally. But then there's this one, which I got much more recently, which is on my list for the curriculum, which is by Leanne Betta Samosake. I'm going to say it the Japanese way, and I'm not sure how she says it. Simpson. It's Theory of Water, Anishinaabe Maps to the Times Ahead. And this is a book that is about thinking of water as an animate presence, and just like a totally different approach to environmental awareness. And I listened to a talk that she gave with somebody on YouTube a couple weeks ago in preparation for this, and she just seemed very grounded, although she'd probably choose a different metaphor, because instead of the land, she used this book to work through her assumptions and I think the place where she inhabits and has her traditional beliefs formed around is the Great Lakes, if I remember correctly from the talk. And so thinking like this water is directing a lot of our activities. This seemed really good. So yeah, there we go. There's my book for the prompt number 3. Number 4, what is part of your current reading life right now that is important or exciting for you? Let's see. Well, I put fall curriculum over here. So activism and plants, which I've already talked about. So as part of the fall curriculum, I had photos because like the organizing of my digital life is just something that's been in the background that I haven't wanted to pay attention to. So trying to be deliberate about that was one module. And then the others were on learning about plants, especially in my neighborhood and region, and identification and use and familiarity. And then activism is getting to know more about organizing and actually taking the steps. And as part of my life in the past few weeks, I have been reaching out to people to volunteer for things, which is fun, but also to an organization. And I'm very excited to do my first volunteer effort with them next Saturday, the 6th, 8th, whatever the Saturday is. Or maybe it's the Thursday. I don't know. It's on my calendar. So yeah, just like taking my baby steps into the world, making them concrete, forming those connections, and not being so insular and insulated. So current reading life, excited about the fall curriculum, reads for activism and plants, but then also in life, excited about taking steps to get to know people who are in the activism space. And a book that would embody that is probably this one that I'm reading pretty slowly, Practicing New Worlds by Andrea J. Ritchie. It's part of the Emergent Strategy series. And if you've heard me talk about Climathon, I feel like we're on a runaway train. So the metaphor I'm thinking through is like I'm trying to build a train alongside. So little train, and then be able to jump off the runaway train onto the little one that's much more sustainable. And building that alternative train to jump onto is a metaphor for cultivating community, reaching out and making sure I know people here who are trustworthy and have similar beliefs in terms of everyone deserves respect, everyone has needs, and they deserve, life and a chance at happiness. That's what this country is supposed to be. So, yeah, very, very thought, what's the word I'm looking for? Another delay tactic. That didn't get me the word. I want to say the opposite of jellying. You know how like if you have a Jello mold and you wiggle it and it just sort of like wobbles? It's like the opposite of that. When you start something and then it like explodes. I know someone was telling me lime wash, my friend who I visited, lime wash is a powder of lime and you put it in water and it boils. And I was like, what? So I've never done lime wash before. Apparently that is what I'm envisioning for this kind of tag. Great motivator. And I'm tagging people who I don't think have done this one for Lekden's tag. It's under Four Corners of the Page, who I believe is in Scotland somewhere. Heather, who is in Scotland somewhere, and Melinda at A Web of Stories, who is right here in Portland with me. So hopefully you guys enjoy this, thinking about it and giving it a little twist of your own. And you won't forget that you also have to choose a book for each of these prompts. So that is the double tag today. And I'll just check in with the chat. Oh, I missed a bunch. Let's see. Jim says Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves are all in their 60s now. Yeah, that's Gen X for you. Eloise says, but Keanu is a vampire or an immortal, right? Yeah. I just saw a wedding picture of him. He looked really happy. He doesn't look happy often in the pictures, so I was surprised. Maybe he just got married. They've all played vampires. Maybe that's the secret. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt in the same movies. Keanu Reeves? When did Keanu Reeves play a vampire? Greg says, I'm older than Gareth, and I did wake up today on the right side of the grass. Nice. Eloise says, played vampires. Cue tinfoil hat and red string. Oh, I've got the red string. I don't have a tinfoil hat, but I do have the red string diagram from Agitation August. That was fun. Julie says, regarding Indigenous Authors Month, I'm reading There by Tommy Orange. It's fascinating. Yay! I haven't read that one yet, but it's on my shelf. That's one of the ones I have that I might read, but probably won't have room this November. So we'll wait for another opportunity. Gareth says, your approach to reading is always an inspiration. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Margaret is an inspiration generally. Well, thank you, Eloise. Yeah, agree. You guys are sweet. Oh, Jim says, we are boomers, not Gen X. Really? Gen X starts like 70? Okay, so maybe you're right over the line. Maybe Keanu has resting bitch face. No, it's just like neutral, you know? Not like Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy has resting bitch face. And he has all the memes that like give him shit for it. So I will pass over that here. Resting wick face. Yeah. 1965? So it's only 10 years. Boomers are only, oh no, 20, 45 to 65. That sounds about right. Gareth says, I'm Gen X, Jim. I think you may be slightly older. Yeah, so we're all sorting ourselves into not houses, but generations here. Boomers go to 64. So Gen X starts at 65? Okay, apparently. We argue for millennials. I think it sort of gets more flexible as you go forward. I've talked about this with Eva too. It's like where you lived in the country, how forward you were culturally, you know, like there's definitely ways that will shade you back or shade you forward. So all different. Oh, okay. People in their 60s are boomers. Really? Huh. I'm a geriatric millennial too, Eloise, so watch out. Okay, so that was your happy Halloween, everyone. Hopefully you had a silly tag from Gareth and you had a serious tag from Lekden. And if you are curious about either and want to repeat them, tag on and keep it going, feel free. Consider yourself tagged. Oh, I just got like a feeling. Whenever I hear other people say that, I think of Oliver Twist. Consider yourself tagged. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. This has been a lovely Halloween Friday. Happy Friday. Have a lovely weekend. And diversify that reading list. Maybe with an indie author book. So thanks everyone. And I will see you again soon. Bye.